Welcome to TripAdvisors and Deadly Detours. That's our series that we're finishing today. We're talking about TripAdvisors and Deadly Detours. If you go on a trip, it helps to have some good wisdom, some good advice. And we've been looking at Peter and Judas for our TripAdvisors on walking with Jesus. A journey with Jesus is a journey of great fulfillment, super adventure. It's absolutely the biggest rush you can have in your life and the most fulfillment, walking with Jesus. And as we walk with Jesus, it's helpful to get some wisdom, some advice from people who also walked with Jesus. So we've been looking at Peter and Judas. Again, interesting characters who walked with Jesus, and they can speak to us about deadly detours. So one of the deadly detours is deception. Another deadly detour is religion. And then the final deadly detour that we look at this week is darkness. You're like, what on earth? Where do you get up with darkness? How is darkness a deadly detour? That doesn't make any sense. Well, I want you to consider in John chapter 18, verse 10, this is wisdom, TripAdvisor from Peter, and this is what it says. Simon Peter then, having a sword, drew it back and struck the high priest's slave and cut off his right ear. Oh my goodness. What? Peter cut off the ear of the high priest? Well, this happened at night. And the exact location for this was in the Garden of Gethsemane. And Jesus knew that he was going to be arrested and drug away and accused and condemned by the Jewish leaders. And it was all going to start here in the Garden of Gethsemane. Well, the problem is it was at nighttime. And Jesus knew this was going to happen, so he went off to the side. He left his disciples and brought Peter, James, and John with him and said, hey, keep watch with me. Pray that you don't enter into temptation. But they fell asleep. They were tired, and they had a lot of, the Bible says they had grief. They were overwhelmed with grief and tired. And so when these Jewish leaders came to arrest Jesus at nighttime in the darkness, this is when Peter whips out this sword and chops off the ear of the high priest's servant at nighttime. And I propose to you that darkness, nighttime, when nobody's looking, there's some ugly things that can get exposed in your soul. What do you do in the dark? What do you do when nobody's watching? The darkness, the violence that Peter had in his soul was exposed at nighttime in the Garden of Gethsemane. So be mindful, be careful of darkness. And then I want us to think about Judas, because Judas had his own experience with darkness. And so when you read in Matthew 26, verses 47 to 49, it says, while he was still speaking, behold, Judas, one of the 12, came up accompanied with a large crowd. Then the crowd had swords and clubs. They came from the chief priests and the elders of the people. Now, when Judas, who was betraying Jesus, he gave a sign that he told him, look, whoever I kiss is the one, and seize him. So immediately Judas went to Jesus and said, hail, Rabbi, and he kissed him. All at night in the Garden of Gethsemane. And it was in the darkness when Judas betrayed Jesus, betrayed him with a kiss. And that's exactly what Jesus said to him. Do you betray the Son of Man with a kiss? This is in the darkness. And I think at nighttime, when nobody's looking or when nobody's watching, when we're off on our own, be very mindful, be conscientious. From our TripAdvisors, be mindful of what's inside. Because what's inside of us comes out oftentimes when nobody's looking, when nobody's watching, when it's dark, when there's no observation. And there's some ugly that can be inside of us. And we need to be attentive that when nobody's watching in the darkness, we need to recognize what is that ugly, the violence, the yuck that's in us. And let's be mindful that we stay attentive to Jesus and walk with Jesus, stay connected with Jesus more than any of the ugly that's inside of us. So this has been a powerful series on TripAdvisors, and wisdom from TripAdvisors to avoid deadly detours. As we finish this, I want you to think about this joke for a quick second. Where do sharks like to go on vacation? Finland. I know. That's a really powerful joke right there. Just kind of sit with that for a moment. But I want to encourage you, next week is Thanksgiving. And I'm so excited. We have a special episode planned for you for Thanksgiving, so you don't want to miss it.